back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It has been a little while since I have slowed this young man down long enough to come on the program here, cool out after running Baltimore County and dealing with all sorts of interesting stories and tragedies and the things that people who run communities go through. Don Mohler has been my friend. We did the math on this. September of 1982, although it might be August of 1982. He is now the former Baltimore County executive. He is my seatmate at Ravens games. We are soon to announce a joint initiative, I think we'll call it here, with what he's doing and with what I'm doing, which is what we've, I think, always tried to do, is surround ourselves with better people and storytell a little bit. I had a friend, Evan, over at State Fair, over in your place in the Ville, ask me over lunch the other day, over a bookmaker salad, by the way. Nothing more Baltimore than a bookmaker salad. You know that, Don. He said to me, now, how do you know Don, and where do you know Don from, and how long do you go back with Don? And I said, in 1982, Don Mohler was the first person to tell me that I could be the next Chris Thomas or I could be the next John Stedman. And as I sit here in 2019 and, I look back on all this stuff, I've been knowing you a long time, and I said, you know what? Don Mohler was a part of one of my first radio shows ever in the winter of 1992, and you coined the term and gave me the phrase, the sports huddle. Remember that? We huddled up on Friday, right?
Absolutely. Dave Muir, Tom Cap, we got the band back together.
Where were you in the spring of 1992 when I launched my radio career? Were you at Catonsville High?
Principal at Sparrows Point Middle School.
Sparrows Point Middle School. Okay, all right. So I'm just trying to figure out the first time we did radio together. I found my old Dave Durian tapes from the 80s when I was his music critic when I was at the Sun. So I'm going to unearth all of these in April when I take it down week. But I just want to get you, first off, how are you? How are things in Catonsville? How are things in Baltimore County and Johnny O and all that other stuff? Because I know you're not really retired, dude. I'm on your Facebook. You're like attending meetings and sitting on, but you're doing stuff, man.
I'm doing a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun. But I tell you, the next journey, and Nestor, when you say what you and I are going to be doing soon, putting our efforts together, it's going to be very exciting in terms of a positive vision for Baltimore and the region. But it is fun to, for the first time in years, to actually be able to do it on my own, not really be holding to anyone, just pick and choose projects that you care about. I'm delighted that you've been visiting Catonsville, and as you're finding out, Catonsville is this mecca of restaurants. It's just amazing.
There's a lot of charm going on over in Catonsville. Does Catonsville have a nickname or anything? I mean, is it the comic community?
Music City, Maryland, baby. Music City,
is it
Maryland. Really?
Why is there not more live music over there? Why can I not go over there and get all hipstered up on a Friday and Saturday night?
You can come every Friday and Saturday night throughout the summer for free to Lerman Theater, which is just out behind Catonsville High School, and get all the live music you want every Friday and Saturday
I got stuck in a traffic jam over there one night going over to UMBC. Fantastic. I remember that. Yeah. I know you love traffic jams in Catonsville because that means industry's good. Don Mohler is here.
You literally don't have to, as I said, if you live here, you literally don't have to go more than 2 or 3 minutes away because all up and down throughout the village, they're just outstanding restaurants. But we'll talk about that another day, but it's great to be able to kick back and talk a little sports about where we are and where we're heading. Exciting times.
Well, all right, I want to relax here a little bit and let you get on the pulpit because you listen to the programming around here. You're that guy, so you know my thoughts on Flacco's departure and Lamar and all the folks we talked to at the Super Bowl who some believe, some didn't believe. Most don't believe a lot that, Lamar Jackson, that this is an experiment that's going to yield multiple Super Bowls or change the world, that taking on contact is not a good thing. But in the aftermath of all of this with Flacco, he's going to go out to Denver. And Don, I've known you a long time. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We sat together the entire Flacco administration. That's every game we've been together, every home game.
We were there when he threw his first pass, Nestor.
And now he's thrown
it was a down and out. It was a sideline route, a down and out. He threw it on the money. I can still remember the guys who sit with us. They turned to one another and said, "Well, what do you know? We have a quarterback." Because that was a big thing at that time.
Well, and he had just gotten the job the week before because of Troy Smith and all the other stuff that went on. But so he's gone now, and legacy, measurable, elite, all of that stuff. All I'm going to write to him and say to him is that we're going to miss him now that he's gone. I think he's going to be appreciated in an incredible way, and I think he goes to Denver with piss and vinegar and the ghost of Tyler Palco on his left shoulder, and I hope he does well. I'm going to be rooting for him, but I really do feel like to some degree, and I text him this. I said, I'm not going to let him forget what you did here, Joe. I'm not going to let him forget. They're going to want to forget, but I'm not going to let him.
Well, Nestor, people who know me, you've known me for a long time, they know that I have this sentimental streak that there's a little bit of sappy in me. But one of the things that I can't separate from what Joe did on the field was to the way he handled himself off the field. And I had the opportunity every year over the Flacco era to go out to camp, to visit with the Ravens, to take my grandchildren out there. And I don't care how hot, how tired, how sweaty, Joe would always come over. He would always bend down or get down on one knee. He would sign the ball for the kids or their baseball hats. He would ask them what sports they were playing. And there wasn't an ounce of phoniness in Joe in any of that. So I'll never.
You know what? Can I just give you a Joe story that will relate to that? He and I are driving around his hometown. He's driving. I'm in his pickup truck. There's nothing in the truck but a DVD of the Super Bowl. And literally, and we're going around his hometown, and I remember saying something to him. He said something to me. I wouldn't be a very good person if I did that, would I? He had these things in the back of his mind, but I said to him, I'm like, dude, what's your cause? What do you care about? And this is before Jen had cancer. Jen had diabetes, and I did some stuff there. Obviously, I did a lot for Ed Block as a kid, as who was adopted by parents who loved me and treated me right. But I always had a soft spot for orphan children and children who didn't grow up with the kind of love that I had in my house. And I remember Joe saying, I love kids, man. Anything I do, it'll be about kids, man. I like kids. I just don't know what I'm going to do, but it's going to be about kids. And now he's got a whole family of kids. And everybody with Flacco, when they finally pulled the trigger, everybody on Facebook had a picture of their kid with Joe Flacco. And I thought, not only did he take a picture with every one of you, he took a picture with every one of your kids and probably gave them a moment in some way, because he can be pretty disarming, because he does sort of like having that gift of being Santa Claus. He does see charm in it, in some way. He really, really does. And that's a gift unto him that a lot of guys, they lose that edge. And you know that. You've been in politics. It can get heavy. It can get tiring. Just going through the airport and trying to make a flight, or going to the mall, going and picking up
about it.
Baby formula at the store because your wife's homesick and you got 3 kids, right? Literally. And Joe has been caught doing all of that with kids on his arms. He's always gracious, Well, so I would agree with you. And he won Super Bowls, by the way, too. I like those guys.
Well, I was going to say, before we get to the on-the-field stuff, and I guess this is somewhat related to the on-the-field stuff, it's where I get so irritated with the haters. And you and I will talk a lot over the next 18 months about the haters, the people who just get up angry every day. But the other thing about Joe that I think people should really appreciate is I don't care how bad he played. I don't care if he threw the interception that lost the game. I don't care if he didn't see the blind side coming and get stripped by the Steelers and lose the game and keep us from going to the championship. Joe waited in that locker room,
Oh, I know.
You're there, and he stood up like a gentleman and never dodged the question. He was as honest as could be. Sometimes people didn't like his answer.
Don, I chased him out of the locker room on many occasions on the road, late at night, after an ass kicking, because the road was always where he lost, right? You know what I mean? They did a lot of winning at home. I remember many nights tracking him down afterward and saying what happened there, and he would he would tell me. You know what I mean? Like, and under his breath, he was just always that guy, always a stand-up guy. And when I jump on the table, Don, and I've been doing this a day, right? You know that. You know me from the time I was 13 years old. And when I'm willing to say after 35 years of doing this, since 1984, that he is my favorite person, my favorite athlete who's ever done what he's done.
I tell people all the time that you say that.
Well, it's just a fact. And it's not that there's not a second place, because I love Brooks Robinson and I love Mike Flynn and I could go through a million people. I love Todd Heap and Dennis Pitta and I love Dan Wilcox and I love Alan Mills and I love I love all these people.
Listen, there's that greatest moment. There's that great moment, which I think captures Joe. You and I spoke about it the other day. Captures Joe perfectly in Purple Rain 2, when Cam Cameron takes a bunch of folks up to the University of Delaware on a snowy day. It's raining, it's snowing, it's cold, and most pre-Bama quarterbacks that we would know would say, "No, I'm not throwing the ball today. I'm not going out. I can't even grip the ball." And I think I think Joe goes out in shorts even. I think he goes out in shorts and a T-shirt and begins to just throw the ball all over the field like a laser. Nothing, just very unassuming, just walks out. "You guys want to see me throw? Okay, I'll go out." And he's throwing lasers through the rain and the snow. And I can remember the reaction that you write about in that book, where the coaches are just like looking at one another and they can't believe what they're about to see. And that's what makes again, the haters, it's so strange, because when you look at Joe's record, and you almost have to call it the Joe Harbaugh record, right? Because they've been joined at the hip for 11 years, and they've been to the playoffs 7 times. They were one play away twice from going 2 other times, which would have been 9 out of 11, which would be a run that's unprecedented and that people would kill for in any other city. But if Joe would have been to another Super Bowl, had Lee Evans not dropped the ball, I still remember that. I'm running around, jumping up and down, hugging people when I see the thing go to Lee Evans' hand before my son grabs me and goes, "Daddy dropped it." And I thought he was kidding.
By the way, I found the passage that you're reading from, Chapter 7 of Purple Rain 2. It is on page 13. It's how to find a franchise quarterback. And it says here, Cameron and Jackson had worked out and coached some of the best quarterbacks in the world. Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Palmer all did their respective pro day workouts with them in attendance. DeCosta admittedly was not the supreme expert on scouting quarterbacks and deferred to Cameron's expertise and Jackson, Hugh Jackson, by the way, his feedback on the regimen. Cameron, always the taskmaster, asked Flacco to do a variety of things that they hadn't seen him do at the combine. Throw off the back foot, throw off the front foot, move your hands. Flacco took every command as a personal challenge. "I tried to do everything they wanted me to do, but I really didn't know what I was doing," Flacco said. "It wasn't like I was at USC. I had never really done anything like that before." The ball never hit the ground, DeCosta said. He must have thrown 100 passes to those kids, and he was on target with every throw. It's amazing how accurate he was and how he saw movement, especially on a field with no lines. He kept trying to do it better and better every time. It was like fun for him. Joe wanted to do it the best he could. He kept saying, "Let's do it again, let's do it again." He was like a kid throwing the football on a playground. Flacco had pride, he had competitive spirit, and he liked coaching. He wanted to get better. So anyway, that's the story from Purple Rain 2. And if Denver gets that guy at 34, a little pissed off right now, I don't know that 3 years from now we go back and don't regret this, or whether Flacco's on a curve to be out of football in the next 18 months. I don't know, but I do know that we watched him throw the football around in August and September and October, and there wasn't any question about who the better quarterback was. Like, there was no quarterback controversy. There was no competition. There was no nothing. Flacco was so much better than Lamar Jackson until he got hurt and then was never heard from again. So I'm fascinated to know how this is going to turn out, and certainly from the Ravens' perspective, and turning the conversation, Don Mohler, former Baltimore County executive and my dear friend here, where do the Ravens go now, right? Like the future is Suggs, Weddle, Yonda, that's around the corner, Mosley. This is busy time. The Ducks are paddling hard under the water right now.
And the great, the great sort of subtext to all this, and you've known them and liked them for a long time, but we also have the added drama of the Eric DaCosta. It's not the same, right, being the number one guy. It's not the same as being, number two and having someone else. And now all of a sudden you've got Eric. It's going to have, I don't care how much he's been in Ozzy's shadow, how much he's learned. It's going to have its own way of doing things. So this is going to be, this is a really exciting off season for the Ravens. When you look back, I think when Ozzy looks back, you'll never top right the Ray Lewis draft, but when Ozzy looks back on his career, I've got to imagine that this past year was, his second best draft ever. So he leaves on a high note. He has an incredible draft. We've had stability at the coaching level. So I think the great thing about it is, Nestor, is that none of us know. That's what I keep trying to talk about with folks when they get all worked up about whether the Joe trade was a good trade or a bad trade. I laugh myself silly that when people have decided that Lamar Jackson is going to stink and never be an NFL quarterback because he he had a bad game against the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers, whatever Chargers they are, against the Chargers in a playoff game, and the Chargers saw them for the second time in 3 weeks. And you say to them, well, the other day you were telling me that Jared Goff is going to be the greatest quarterback in the next Drew Brees, and he was as bad, if not worse, than Jackson, right, in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, we don't know. We don't know if Lamar Jackson can fix his mechanics. We don't know if Lamar Jackson can stay healthy. You and I think, believe that we believe with our heart and soul that if Joe has a supporting cast out there in Denver and has what we believe is a very good defense with folks coming off the edge and getting them the ball, I think we fully expect Joe to be very, very effective.
He's Don Mohler, former Baltimore County executive, my pal. We're going to be huddling up here on a Baltimore Positive initiative. We'll be telling you more about that in the coming days and weeks. And, of course, we've got baseball season around the corner, which I know that always sort of gets you moving. But I saw the over-under, and this is the first time I saw it. This is on my timeline, Don. If you go to Vegas right now, and the over-under on Oriole wins is what? Do you know what that number would be?
I would say that the over-under on Oriole wins is 75.
58.5. It's 58.5.
Yes. There you go. I'm the eternal optimist.
If you think the Orioles will win 59 games this year, so let me remind you that 59 wins, and I know you were a social studies teacher, but you do the math.
I do that math.
You can do that math. That's 103 losses. So if you think the Orioles can do better than 103 losses, if you think they're going to win 75 games or even 74 games, you could probably buy all of Catonsville via Las Vegas, and Rob Manfred will get you some action. It's no longer illicit for us to talk about gambling. We don't have to hushy-hush about it. It's not like dealing dice in a back alley somewhere, off Chesapeake Avenue. It literally, it's... the leagues are going to go into business and all this, but there's your number, 58.5, Don Mohler. That is about as bad a Vegas open number as you could possibly have. At 103 losses, you could win the bet, literally.
Now here's my take on that. This is a really strange observation, but for the first time in years, I don't care about that number. And believe it or not, and I'll still go to the games because my grandchildren love to go to the games, so I'll still go. I'm one of the dinosaurs. I probably went to 15 games last summer. I'll go to 15 games again this summer with a ticket. And, I enjoy being out there. I love seeing the game through the eyes of young boys and girls.
And you know what he really loves doing? He loves not going with me. because I wreck it for him. You know, I'm like sort of there at a Copperfield show telling you how the magic trick is done.
Well, and that's what's different for me, and you know it because we've talked off air.
I don't want to wreck you and Ken. Look, you go with Ken and Meg. You go with two of my best friends to Oriole games.
I'm going to help book sales because to your listening audience, if you have not picked up and purchased Astro Ball, which is the story about how the Houston Astros went from losing 100 games a year in and year out, to winning the World Series in 2014, I guess. You need to or 2017, right? 2017. 2017. You need to go get Astro Ball and read about Mark Elias and read about Sid Metal. So that gets me to the point about the over-under this year. I think that number becomes irrelevant because for the first time in years, I think we have a plan. Now, the key will be, and hopefully the ownership group will allow these guys, and it appears they have so far, to just run the organization. I gave you a couple of examples earlier this week, Nestor. When I read the other day, it was, and you know I love Buck, so anybody thinks I'm jumping on Buck because he's not here. Not true, because, again, I love Buck.
You are the one guy in the community that really fully understands why Buck left Zach Britton at the end. No, maybe you're not. Okay, maybe.
No.
Nobody understands that, but
I love Buck, and I thought that his press conferences, I used to say that if you sat and watched his post-game press conferences, I don't care how much baseball you know, you would learn something every night. Now, having said that, now in the rearview mirror, I think there are some things that give us some insight as to why things maybe got off the rails. The other thing is just a little note in the Sun where it reported how pleased Dylan Bundy was that they now had, under the new regime, video cameras out on the back mounds so that he could go in and look at his motion and see how the ball's coming out of his hand so that he could make adjustments. Nestor, you could have knocked me over. I'm sure my jaw dropped. I thought, no, wait a minute. This is 2019, and Oriole pitchers are tickled that they suddenly have video cameras to study. Were we that far behind? It appears we were that far behind. Then you read...
And you're shocked by that, really? I mean, you knowing what you know, knowing that they had no one in analytics... Don, they didn't have an analytics department to analyze anything that would have been analyzable. They didn't have an analytics department.
Well, here's the other best example of that, Nestor. So I was really disturbed by the Gosman trade. And I understand that Gosman was giving us all heartburn. I got that. But I also knew the kid was 26 years old, could hit 98, 99 on a fastball. And if he kept the ball down and in the zone, he could be unhittable at times. So he goes to Atlanta, and all of a sudden, for his 8 or 9 starts, he posts a sub-3 ERA. And I'm thinking, how can this be? And then I see an interview with Kevin Gosman. And he says, well, because they came to me in Atlanta, and they said, we looked at the stats, and we noticed that when you pitch out of the stretch, you're more than a 1 point lower ERA than when you pitch out in a full windup. So why don't we try to have you pitch out of the stretch for a while? Well, my head, again, almost explodes. Our guys weren't looking at that kind of data, and I think we were just, in that sense, in the dark ages. And nobody got better under Roger McDowell. Nobody got better under Roger McDowell. Will we get better under the current regime? We'll see. But again, here's an example. I don't know what I hope this makes people out there scratch their head. So this, for the last 2 years, right, as we watch this kid, Ryan Mountcastle, work his way up through the system, we read over and over. Great bat, can't miss that. I went back on today, actually, and was looking at scouting reports. Every single scout, probably a guy's going to hit 30 home runs, no holes in his swing, can't miss hitter, problems defensively, aren't really lacking, probably going to struggle. And short and service. Well, for the past 2 years, when we gather together, baseball people, we would say to one another, why don't they put the kid at first base where you never have to throw the ball more than 90 feet? You have to throw it from first to home, or you have to throw it from first to second. You have to throw the ball 90 feet. I'm guessing he'll be able to do that. And you don't have to do that even all that often. Let's see what he looks like at first base. Never any discussion.
But, Don, look, they gave Jake Arrieta away, right?
Now, all of a sudden, the first base hit, Hyde has Mountcastle taking balls at first base. So I think we were stuck in a way of doing things. And you know what? Nestor, you and I have both been in leadership positions. We've managed organizations. And I get what I think may have happened to both. It's very easy to get comfortable and want to be surrounded by friends. Very easy to do that. And people who feel a sense of comfort, who you believe have your back. And I think that sort of had this group of cronies that he liked having around him. And I don't know that Roger McDowell had the ability to make anybody better. He certainly didn't here. You know, we certainly never appeared to get none of our hitters particularly tended to improve. So we're going to see, and we've got some kids. It's going to be exciting. I think now when you pick up the morning paper, at least there's something to read. When you read about, getting this young prospect coming in, or the guys we got, from Manning and the guys we got in the Britain trade, you want to see how they're doing. I want to see, can Austin Hayes bounce back? I can tell you that 2 years ago, when Austin Hayes came up at the end of the year, he made a couple of throws when I was out there from right field to third base that were, just short of Clemente-like. I mean, this kid appears to have all of the tools. So it's going to be fun. Maybe they win 59, but do they at least have a plan, which means that in the future they won't make a signing like they did with Chris Davis and give the whole city a win and have it blow up in their face and be on the books for years. I mean, I think there's reason for optimism.
Well, we'll talk about Manny Machado and the Terps next week. Don Mohler here, Baltimore County executive, joining us. You'll learn more about our Baltimore Positive mission and all the things we're doing from Dundalk to downtown to the Ville. That's Catonsville for all of you out there. Don, rest up. We got some basketball to watch, and you and I get back after it again next week, and we'll be telling everybody about what we're going to be doing coming up later on this spring.
Let's do it. Go Terps.
Go Terps. There he goes. Maryland, we're all behind you. Tip and win. I'll take it. Any win's a good win. Ohio State, Penn State ahead, and, of course, hopefully a good seeding in the NCAA tournament. So we'll get some Terps basketball in. Luke has been doing that. I've been doing that. You can find us out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. I am Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I am on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST, Tassel, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.